Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video we will see how we can add the sorting and searching functionality to our React app. And for that we will create this simple app, which is actually just a table of users and a search bar here. So in this table we are able to sorting users by their ID, or we can sort them by their full name here. We can also search users by their full name. So this is what we will create. Now let's get started. So as you can see, I've already created an empty React app, and right now I'm in a app.js file. So we will just use this component for our entire app, because we will, as I said, we will just add a search bar and table, and actually we can put them inside this component. So there is no need to add any extra component. I've also imported the app.css file. So right here, this will be the styling of our app. So we will add our CSS codes inside it. By default, you see that I've changed some default styles of all elements. So I've changed the margin and padding to 0, and changed the font family here, and here the box sizing. Inside this index.js, there is nothing special there. And then we have this users.js. So here I'm exporting the data variable, and this data variable is actually a list of users. So we will use them to show them in a table. And that's it. So now let's run this app, so we can see the changes that we are adding in this app, the component. So right now it is completely empty, as I said. We can start by importing the data from users, which will be our users. Then we can import the user state hook from React. Then we can create a state for users inside the app component, because the users will be changed during the searching and sorting. So therefore we want that this app component will be re-rendered each time the user's state is updated. So we can type const and users, set users, and then the initial value will be data. So now in a return, so this component will return a div tag with a class name app, and inside this div tag we can add another div tag with a class name table container. Then inside this table container we can add a table. So we will show our users inside it. Then the table head. So in a table head we will have 4 headers. The first one will be the user ID. Then we can copy it, and then the second one will be username, and the third one will be email, and the last one will be gender. Then for the table body, we can call a function render users. So now let's create this render users. This function will go through each users in our users state and return a table row for each user. So therefore we can type users and then we can use the map function. We also need to return it. Then for each user we want to return a table row. And the first column will be user ID as we wrote in a table header. User ID. The next one, so I'm going to just first copy it. And the next one will be username. For the username, we need to add the user first name and user last name. And we can do it by using the string template. So we can put the user's first name and the last name in a string template. So the first name and then the last name. So now we have the full name. The third one will be email, user's email, and the last one will be user's gender. And as you see, we have an error in our terminal which says that cannot find the users, and it is because I forgot the dot and a slash to say that the users is in the same folder. So and by fixing it, we can open the browser and see how it looks like. So as you see, we got a table with the users, but we need to add some styling so it looks better. For the styling, I'm gonna just copy and paste the CSS code so you don't have to watch me to write all the CSS codes. So I'm gonna just copy first the styling for the element with the class name app. So here, which will be actually this div tag. So in this app, we have the display flex. Then I've set the justify content and the line items to center, so to center the elements inside this div tag. Then I'm gonna just copy the styling for the table and paste them here. So here we have a table container. So we can see in app.js it is this div tag. So here I've just changed the width to 50%, and then for the table I've added a border collapse, and it is because we want to remove the extra white space in a table's cells, and by setting the border collapse to collapse, it will remove the extra white space. Then I've set the width to 100%. For the table head, I've changed just the background color, and then for the table header and table data, I've set padding and then added the text line to the left, and then set the min width to 150 pixel. And here I've just for the table header, I've changed the text color, and then for the table row I have added the border bottom. So now let's look. As you see, it looks much better. Now let's add the sorting functionality. So as we saw in the demo, if I open the demo again here, you see that when I click on an ID and name, users will be sorted by ID or name. but we don't have it in our app. So now let's add it. So for that, we can add an on a click event for the table header ID, and we can set it to the sorted by ID function. So we don't have this function yet, but we're going to create it in a second. We can do the same for the table header name, and we can change the function to the sorted by name. Now let's create those two functions. We can start by creating the sorted by ID. For now, I'm going to just put it empty. And here we can create the sorted by name as well. For these two functions, we need to create another state, and I'm going to name it sorted. And set sorted. So this state will be an object with a key sorted, and by default it is ID, and another key will be reversed, and by default it is false. So now we're gonna update this state when we run this sorted by ID. So the sorted key will be ID, so we don't need to change it, but the reversed will be the opposite of the current reverse. So we can type sorted dot reversed, and then, as I said, it will be the opposite one. So if the current reverse is true, so it will be false, or if it is false, it will be true. Then we can create a copy of the users, because the users is a state, and we don't want to manipulate the state directly. So we will create a copy of users and sort them, and then we can set the users to the users copy. So here we can create the copy. Then we can use the sort function to sort the users, and this sort function will take a callback function as argument. So this sort function will use this callback function to sort the users. Inside it, we will return the users b.id minus users a.id. But for the reverse case, so we can check if the sorted.reverse is true, and if it is, we want to return the user a.id minus user b.id, and by that the users will be sorted. Now the only thing that is left is to set the users to this users copy. So we can update our state, and that's it. Now for the sorted by name, we can copy these two lines first. It will be same for the sorted by name, and here we need to update the set sorted, but the sorted key will be here. The value for it will be name, because we want to sort the users by name, but the reverse will be same. Here we can use the sort function again, but this time we need the full name of the users, user A and user B, and compare them. And to get the full name of the user A, we can copy this same string template that we've created here. We can paste it here, and we change the user to user A. We can duplicate this line, and we can have the full name of user B, and we change the user A to user B. So Now the only thing is left is to compare these two, and for that we can use a function called local compare, which is an inbuilt function in a JavaScript, so we can use it in a strings. So we can return the full name A and local compare user B. So this will check if this full name A is coming first or coming before the full name B or not. But for the reversed case, we can check if the reversed is true. We want to return full name B, and we will compare it with the full name A. So, and that's it. So now let's update the users. So now check if it is working. So as you see, when I click on a name, users will be sorted by name, and when I click on a ID, users will be sorted by ID. Now another thing that we need to do is to add this arrow, and for that we need to install the React icons module. So you can go to their website. So I'm gonna add the link in the description so you can find it there, and then we can copy this line, and we can then you can open a terminal in your project and then just paste it and press enter, and by doing that it will be installed. When it is installed, we can go to the app.js and import the two icons. The first one is FA arrow up, and then the second one is FA arrow down, and we're gonna import it from React icons -FA, and this FA stands for font awesomes. So these two icons are from font awesome icons. Then after this span in ID, we can check if sorted dot sorted is equal ID. Then we want to call the render arrow function. Otherwise, we want to return null. And it is a function, so just add the parentheses here. Then we can copy it and do the same for the table header name, but we're gonna check if the sorted is equal name. Now let's create this render arrow function. It will be a simple function. We will check if sorted reversed. So if it is true, we want to return FA arrow up. Otherwise, we want to return the FA arrow down. And that's it. So now let's check it if it is working. So as you can see, it is working, but we need to add some space between the name and between the text and the arrow. So, and for that we can add the style attribute for the span, and we can add the margin right, and we can set it to 10. We can do the same for the name, and as you can see, it looks better. The last thing that we want to add is the search box, and for that we can add another div tag before this table container. We can give it a class name search container, And inside this div tag, we can add an input. The type of the input will be text, and the placeholder will be search. So for the value, we need to add another state, and we can add it here. And I'm gonna call it the search phrase. And by default, it will be empty string. So the value of the input will be search phrase. And before I add the onChange, here I'm gonna just move this to next lines. So for the onChange event, we can set it to a function called search. And now let's create this search function. We can put it here after sort by name. It will take argument which will be event. So here we can start by finding the matched users, and for that we can use the data, and data is we imported here. And why we are using data is because the user's state will be changed in this search function. So we are changing the user's state, so it will not contain the all users, but this data will always contain the all users. So we can use the filter here, and we will filter users by full name, and we can for that we can use again this string template. Then we can convert it to the lowercase, and then we can check if it includes the event target value, which will be same as search phrase, and we also need to convert it to the lowercase, and it will be event. So now we can set the users to the matched users, and we can also update the search phrase. And now let's see if it works. So before that, we can add the styling to the search box. It doesn't look nice. So I'm going to just copy the styling for the search box and paste it here at the end. So we have the search container here. I've just added a margin and the width. Then for the input, I've added the width to 100% and put it the padding and font size, and then remove the outline and added a border. So now let's see. Oh, it looks better. So now let's search for something. So it looks like it doesn't work. So let's see. And yeah, it is because I forgot to return the value in the filter callback function. So if now let's check it again. I refresh it and then search for some names. So as you can see, it works. So by doing this will be the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video and subscribe to channel. And if you had any questions or if you got any problem, you can leave it in the comment section below, so I'm gonna try to answer them if I knew the answer. And thank you for watching.